The air in the glass-walled boardroom of Sterling Enterprises was cold, but not as cold as Sarah Sterling's heart. At 29, she was the youngest female CEO in the city. She'd built an empire on efficiency, speed, and zero tolerance for mistakes. To Sarah, people were like machines. If they didn't function perfectly, they were replaced. That morning, a tiny coffee stain marred her expensive silk blouse, a disaster in her eyes. Just as she was about to call her assistant, she saw him. Samuel, the office janitor, a man of 60, with silver hair and a permanent limp in his right leg. He was always silent, moving through the hallways like a ghost. Today, he was late. He arrived at her office door at 9:15, not 9 o'clock. Sarah didn't look up from her laptop. "You're late, Samuel." "I apologize." Miss Sterling. Samuel's voice was raspy, barely a whisper. There was an emergency on the way. "I don't pay for emergencies," Sarah snapped, finally looking at him. Her eyes were like ice. "I pay for punctuality. You've been here for 3 years, and you're still just a man with a mop. Do you know why? Because you have no discipline. Pack your things. You're fired." Samuel stood still. He didn't beg or cry. He simply nodded slowly. "I understand, Miss Sterling. May life teach you what money cannot." He turned and limped away. As he left, a small, worn-out velvet box fell from his pocket, rolling unnoticed under Sarah's desk. She forgot about him within minutes, hiring a new cleaning service by noon. Later that day, a heavy rainstorm hit the city as Sarah drove her luxury SUV to a charity gala. She was on a conference call, shouting at a manager about a delayed shipment. The roads were slick, visibility poor. Suddenly, a massive truck hydroplaned in front of her. Sarah slammed on the brakes, but it was too late. Her car spun out of control, crashing through the guardrail and tumbling down a steep, wooded embankment. The world went black. When Sarah opened her eyes, the smell of smoke and gasoline filled her lungs. She was upside down, trapped. Her legs were pinned. The car was a mangled wreck, and she could hear the hiss of the engine. It was going to explode. "Help!" she screamed, her voice weak. The woods were dark and lonely. No one could see her car from the highway above. She felt the heat of flames starting near the front of the car. Panic surged through her. All her millions, her skyscraper, her expensive clothes, they meant nothing now. She was going to die alone in the mud. Then she heard it, the sound of heavy footsteps breaking through the branches. A figure appeared in the rain. Through her blurred vision, she saw a man. He was limping, but moving with a strange, calculated speed. He didn't have a crowbar or a kit. He used a heavy stone to smash the side window. "Stay still," the man commanded. The voice was familiar. With scarred and calloused hands, he sliced through her seatbelt with a small pocket knife. He reached into the wreckage, ignoring the fire licking at his own sleeves, and pulled Sarah out with a strength that didn't belong to an old man. He dragged her 50 yards away, shielding her body with his own just as the fuel tank ignited. A massive explosion lit up the night sky. Sarah lay on the wet grass, coughing, her heart racing. The man sat beside her, breathing heavily, bleeding from a cut on his forehead. "Why? Why were you here?" she whispered, trembling. The man turned his head. It was Samuel, the janitor she had fired that morning. "I live in the small cabin just past the hill," Samuel said quietly. "I saw the lights go off the road." Sarah looked at him, truly looked at him for the first time. She saw the burns on his arms from saving her. "I fired you. I insulted you. Why did you save me?" Samuel looked at the burning wreck of the $1 million car. "A life is worth more than a grudge, Sarah. My father taught me that. He died in a war so others could live. I learned to see the soul, not the title." 2 days later, Sarah was back in her office, her arm in a sling. She was different. The silence of the office felt heavy. She looked under her desk and finally saw it, the small velvet box Samuel had dropped. She opened Italiano. Inside was a Medal of Honor, the highest military decoration. Below it, a newspaper clipping from 30 years ago. The headline read, "The Lion of the Valley. Sergeant Samuel Vance saves entire platoon under heavy fire." The man she called a man with a mop was a national hero. He had lost his leg saving his brothers in arms. He had spent his life in service, never seeking fame, working as a janitor just to stay busy and be around people. Sarah felt a sharp pain in her chest, not from her injuries, but from shame. She realized the emergency that made him late that morning was likely him stopping to help someone else, just as he had helped her. Sarah drove to the small, humble cabin Samuel had mentioned. She found him on the porch, fixing an old wooden chair. She walked up to him, ignoring the mud on her shoes. "Samuel," she said, her voice trembling, "I found your medal." Samuel looked at the box in her hand and smiled sadly. "It's just a piece of metal, Miss Sterling." "No," Sarah said, tears filling her eyes. "It's a reminder of who you are, and how blind I was. I didn't come here to give you your job back. I came here to ask for your forgiveness." She took out a legal document. "I've started a foundation in your name for retired veterans, and I want you to be the chairman. We have so many people who need to learn the discipline and heart that you have." Samuel looked at her for a long time. He saw that the ice in her eyes had finally melted. "I don't need a foundation, Sarah," he sighed softly. "But if it helps others find their way, I will help you." Sarah Sterling learned that day that the most important people in our lives are not the ones with the biggest titles, but the ones with the biggest hearts. Never judge a person by their uniform. Behind a simple mop might be the heart of a lion. Behind a silent face might be a story that could change your life. Don't forget to subscribe to Secret Stories and hit the bell icon so you never miss our daily emotional dramas and life lessons. Your support helps us bring more such hidden truths to light. Until next time, keep looking for the heart behind the story. Thanks for watching.